So, I just watched Monster Hunter and I really enjoyed it for the most part. I had very low expectations. From the trailers I saw with all the American and military stuff, I was like, oh god, are they doing this? But I went and saw it and I was actually thinking throughout the film, like, wow, video game adaptations are actually getting good now. And then they fuck up at the end. Well, there's no end, not really. So, what's up with that? Are we gonna get DLC now? So, hello, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for watching. And first and foremost, there might be some minor spoilers here. I'll try to avoid as much as possible, which that you can already tell from the trailers, but you've been warned. I'll go into some bigger details at the end for those that don't care for spoilers about the ending, but I'll try to keep it minimized. So yeah, the movie starts with a short introduction to the whole Monster Hunter world, just before we cut off to our world. Now, for a moment there, I was really worried, as I don't actually know anyone that actually likes the concept of let's bring video game stories into our world, even if it has nothing to do with the source material, which Hollywood for some reason really keeps liking to do, despite all the criticism it keeps getting. But whatever. Thankfully, we spent very, very little time with this military team in the real world before they are transported to the world of Monster Hunter. I actually forgot if they didn't name the world in the film, but I can't remember from the video game. But I actually thought it was a fairly good idea. Hear me out. Because it was actually a very nice way to introduce the adult main character into this world as very much like the player of the video game, where they'll have to learn about the world, get their equipment still. I thought this was a really good way to get like a main character to represent the player. And they end up stranded on this small rocky area in the middle of the desert without any way to leave it, because there's something out there in the sand, this really big monster. And they actually spend a lot of time of the movie in this starter area, which might be boring or upsetting to some, but personally I was okay with it. I felt it did a really good job of showing that to traverse this very, very dangerous world, as there's also spiders everywhere across that little rocky area at night, that it actually shows to survive there, it requires a lot of preparation. Well, at least at first anyway, because that seems to count for everything they come across before they meet the final boss monster. And in that case, it kind of turns into this is its weakness, now let's attack head on. But it's fine, that's fine. It's not a big deal really, but it's kind of a shame you also don't get to see much of the world, like the villages and all that sort of thing. It's mostly just the rocky area where they start at. Then there's the desert they have to traverse to get to their end goal. And there's a small oasis-like area around this big tower where they have to go to. But we do get to see this big crew of hunters, which is actually pretty cool, as there's also a feline among them, which is, for people that don't know, are these they're cat people. They're big, giant, fluffy cat people. And he is awesome. He is freaking awesome. Hardly gets any screen time, but he is awesome. Another thing I really liked is that people don't actually speak English in the Monster Hunter world. It kind of, what they speak sounds kind of Japanese-like, but I think for the most part it's just like a fake language. I think that's the same for the games, but it's been a while since I played any of them. Well, I say any of them, but I've only really ever played like the 3DS version, the first one, which I think was Monster Hunter World. No, not Monster Hunter World. I think it was just Monster Hunter 3, like 3DS. Anyway, so yeah, basically they can only communicate with each other by sign language or just trying to motion things out and such, which actually is the cause for some really heartwarming scenes, like really good scenes where they build like a friendship and appreciation between each other, even though they don't speak the same language, which I thought was really well done. And like I said, I really enjoyed this film for the most part, right there up until the final arc. The main character wants to get back home, of course, because who the hell wants to live in a place where everything tries to kill you constantly? Hi, Australia. But yeah, the way to get back home is guarded by the most dangerous crew the monster seems to know. The most dangerous monster the crew seems to know. And of course they beat it eventually, and it's mentioned that things aren't over yet, that there's still something they need to do. And then the credits just roll, right there and then, just bam. It's like, we've got unfinished business, credits. And I was just sitting there thinking like, what? What? Because imagine this roller coaster ride. It's really exciting, and then this announcement goes off. It's like, and now for the most exciting part of this ride, and you're like, yeah, and then the ride just breaks down and you have to get off. You know, by that point, like, the entire previous experience of the ride is just forgotten. It's just, and all you're left with is that like sinking empty feeling of well, unsatisfaction. Going into spoilers! You've been warned. I'm going into some more details here, so spoilers. Don't blame me if you don't want to hear any of this. It's about the ending, just the ending. I'm just going to spoil a little bit about the ending of why I hate it so much. And I was disappointed about it for two things. One, the final boss fight, which is against Rathalos, which probably a lot of players will know, the monster. He's protecting this giant tower, and at this giant tower is like the portal that connects both worlds, like our world and the Monster Hunter world. And to get the main character back home, they need to go through that portal. But halfway during the fight against Rathalos, who's protecting that portal, the fight takes place in our world, and the military gets involved, and it's all like, yeah, military, fight the monster. And it just felt really unnecessary and groan-inducing. But yeah, so they of course go back to the Monster Hunter world, and the monster is defeated, and it's all revealed that there's a second Rathalos. So it's not over yet. There's a second Rathalos which shows up right at the tower. So the main characters get prepared to, like, you know, weapons ready. This isn't over yet. And this isn't going to be over until we do something about the tower and stop this portal. Credits. Now, this doesn't feel like a big plot point on which you can build the entire sequel. This feels like something, if this is addressed in the sequel, it's going to be like this, the first 10 minutes or something. Like, yeah. It just feels incomplete. It feels just like one giant dick move. Like, how can you just end your story like that without first finishing your narrative?